Hi, good evening, all of you. Um, Welcome to the Open Cat Mock 3, which is same as your CDC Pro 8 analysis. We will take you through our views on how this paper was, what we think should have been done. We'll look at each of the experts' views. So quickly, before I kind of get into individual points of view, let me quickly run through the broad view of what this mock was like and what do the figures actually look like. At the design of the mock, we wanted to make it a little closer to 2022 or between 2023 and 2022 uh, as far as the level of difficulty was concerned, so that we wanted to see whether we could match scores of CAT 2022. And we have fallen somewhere in between 2022 and 2023. Of course, sections don't exactly match, right? But we see that there are a couple of sections which we think have become a little easier. Some of the sections have become a little tougher. So that's the story of this particular mock. So if you look at the past CAT papers, CAT 2023 was, I think, a wee bit tougher compared to CAT 2021. You see the scores that is dropping: 99.5 percentile, 107, 93.4, 84.5, then 97, 84. So the question is, will the next will the next CAT fall? Will it become more difficult than 2023? My personal view is not so, because I think last year's CAT was pretty tough. I don't think they're going to make it more tougher than that. It might, I think, be somewhere between 2022 and 2023. So that's a point of view, right? And I will ask probably Ravi and the GP sir also to share their views.
I think Shivko
Um,
here, one thing is
uh,
that level of difficulty of any paper depends on the test takers, right? Like for example, when you look at quant of 2023 and you look at quant of 2022, I agree that there were 5 or 6 questions in each of the slots which were untouchable. But people who solved 16 questions, 17 questions, there were 16 to 17 questions in both 2022 paper and 2023 paper for people who are operating at a very high level. It's only that people who operate at a lower level, at an 80th percentile range, let us say, may have faltered a lot when it comes to question selection in the 2023 paper, because they thought, because it also happened that it was an observation across a lot of students that there were chunks of questions of geometry together or chunks of questions of algebra together, because of which they may have felt, I mean, people may not have seen even 22 questions in all. उसके वजह से 2023 seems comparatively very tougher. 2023 is tough because of those 5 or 6 questions, but there were still those 16 questions which were up for grabs. That is, I think, what we have been telling through the race to 99 sessions as well. If you look at it, the GP would say there are about 8 to 9 Jugaad questions in there, and 7 to 8 questions which are direct approach formula based questions in that sense. So
hmm.
yeah, it was you know, one extent is the level of difficulty of the questions, but the level of difficulty of the questions is again a variable dependent on the level of preparation of the students, right? So
That's
if
true. That's absolutely true. Bilkul.
yeah,
So open mock, if I compare it with uh, the CAT 2023, it was probably two questions easier at 2 to 3 questions easier at each of the levels, and definitely, uh, I think it reflects very similar. So if you look at the CAT, the open mocks 1 and 2, we wanted to peg it completely with respect to 2023, and we said that open mock 3 will let it come a little between the two, right? And that's precisely what has happened. So at every percentile point, we see that there are 2 or 3 marks which seem to have become easier, and this probably could have been because people seem to have done better in verbal in this particular mock when compared to the other sections. So other sections are more or less in tandem with the 2023 CAT, but verbal seems to have probably been a little more easier or people have scored a little more easier, right? So this is the open mock scores, right? I don't know, Ravi, does that surprise you? DILR and quant, right?
No, no,
Um,
no, zero surprise. I have seen both DILR and quant in this paper, and the DILR is exactly as I expected it to be, and quant
uh,
is also exactly. In fact, quant I feel was a little easier than what I'm seeing over here. I mean, I'm not very happy with 99.5th percentile being at 38 marks in this paper.
hmm,
I think there were 15 odd questions a topper should do in this paper. There
hmm,
were, I mean, none of the questions in the paper. I took the live attempt of this, okay.
hmm,
And when I
hmm,
was solving the quant paper as a student, I felt just like a test taker in those 40 minutes. I felt that there were no questions that were telling me right to my face कि तू इसको छोड़ के निकल जा,
hmm.
right? So
ये भी
each
थोड़ा डेंजरस पोजीशन है.
हाँ ये
हाँ,
डेंजरस वर्शन तो जरूर है in that sense,
uh,
but
uh,
there were a couple of questions. मतलब there was the second question that was geometry. Okay, वो geometry का जो you had to solve it
the
using हाँ
areas वाला.
या वो वाला जो questions वो वाला जो question था मेरे को ऐसा देखो शिवको when it comes to me I know only two things in geometry. I know how to deal with right angle triangles and I know how to deal with equilateral triangles. It was neither right angle nor equilateral. I tried to form a right angle triangle and then I said no. तो फिर मैं छोड़ दिया उसको. So there were not very straightforward leaves in the question. In fact, while solving also, I ended up even that log question that was there, log 49 to the base 2 वाला जो question था, I kept solving it to a certain extent till I मतलब जहाँ एक जगह जाके मैं शायद अटक गया कहीं, then I left it. So no question in quant paper was as such कि तुम इसको देख के छोड़ दो. That is the issue with the quant.
चिपको
Question
मैं
selection would have
लैपटॉप
been
डाउन है
little
तो मैं फोन पे लॉगिन किए बैक स्टेज हूँ.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
that's it. And when it comes to DILR, Shivko, I don't know what you did or what whosoever prepared this paper of DILR did. I counted Shivko. There are 2,233 words in DILR in
हाँ,
4 sets taken together, including questions and options.
हाँ.
That is roughly
तो
560 words per
चारों सेट.
set.
हाँ. So if that is if somebody has done all the 4 sets.
हाँ.
हाँ.
मतलब see कोई set see this is where people who have the strategy of just looking through the 4 sets in the first 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 8 minutes and decide कि
हाँ.
कौन सा बनेगा will make a wrong choice because चारों ऐसा है कि बनेगा अगर बनाने लगो तो बट चारों ऐसा है कि बनाने को बहुत टाइम लगेगा. So in that sense it was so verbose in nature. I felt like I was solving 4 javelins, but okay, javelin was too complicated in terms of the logic also, but this was the questions were doable. It was very lengthy and tiresome to do those questions in DILR, and I think 9 to 10 questions if anyone is doing in this paper, 8 to 10 questions is a great attempt in this paper of DILR.
Okay. So we'll come back to DILR. Okay. So I think hi Shashank. I'll come back to quant when we right. So VARC, this is what it was broadly, right? So where I said that when compared to 2023, there seems to be at every uh, percentile. I think uh, the evil test setter has probably been a little more easy on you guys. So I think broadly about 9 marks difference is there practically at each of the percentiles, and I think that's where it's become a little easy to compensate for what Ravi is talking about, a very cumbersome DI section. I, we will hear Gejo's views on this, but I mean for the first time I'm seeing in RC एक पूरा set में all the 4 are greens, right? It is like it was a shocker to me that all the 4 with especially when the percentage attempt for that passage has also been good, and almost all 4 questions there are greens. I think this is uh, I think it's an unprecedented seed, at least in all the mocks that we have analyzed till now.
This reminds me of CAT 2021 slot 3 Shivko.
हम्म
हाँ, वो पेपर में मेरे सारे आरसी सही थे, मेरे।
तुम्हारे क्या 99 पॉइंट कुछ आया था ना?
हाँ, उसमें मेरा VARC लाइफ का बेस्ट दे दिया था।
ठीक है। सो DILR जो है, DILR इफ यू सी, राइट, it is probably because of the length that Ravi is talking about, right? Yes, it has been a little more lengthy for sure. Um, but the net scores don't seem to be too off the 2023 or 2022 marks. So there, it seems to be more or less bang on. And I see the greens are spread out across. Uh, we'll come to the micro analysis of DA later. And then quant section, if I look at it, quant section at higher percentiles, we see that the scores, right? Um, if I look at the compare it with 2022 and 2021, it's almost exactly there, right? And 2023 cat, I believe, right, key, it was definitely way tougher than the average cat paper as far as quant is concerned. So and the scores don't lie there, but I believe it's a fact. And I think, right, at the design stage when we are working out the mock, we are trying to kind of keep temper it between 2023 and 2022. That's the intent of most of our mocks.
I
Um,
think Shitku, one thing in quant I felt was there were some questions which were, even arithmetic questions which were straightforward but were
hmm.
very lengthy to read also. Like that, there is a test that
Yeah,
there is now
you
is
look
taking
at
some time.
you. So there have been cats. So if you actually look at the average word length in some of the cats,
Yeah.
especially 2022 cat, I think, right, it was questions were बहुत सारा कहानी था,
So if you
right,
could go back to
conceptually.
that quant ka scores wala slide, Shitku, if you
Hmm.
look at CAT 2021 and you scores, okay, CAT 2021, you look at 97th percentile to 99.5th percentile. The
Hmm.
jump is about 12 marks.
Correct.
Okay, the graph is very steep towards the top, right?
Yes. Yes.
The same was the story in 2022. But in 2023, even the toppers did not have that freedom of solving more than 17 questions. Hence, the graph is not very steep. And
Which
I
is
think in this
precisely.
paper, also the graph is not very steep towards the end. But yes, in the beginning, it started growing exponentially. Towards the end, it did not end up being that kind of steep difference between a 97th and a 99th percentile.
So see, I think CAT 2023 personally, if I think, is a bad paper, because if your paper does not give you people at various points, right?
Hmm.
I think it is not easy to deal or kind of identify people with various skills. Where are the who is a 99 percentiler? Who is a 90 percentiler? If that gradation, that gradient is not uh, nicely designed, I think the problem with CAT 2023 was this, right? I think there's too much of bunching happening in the mid 20s. So I don't think it's a good paper. If a 95th percentile is at 17 and 99.95 percentile is 29, right? I think there is something fundamentally wrong in the way the paper is designed. And I
Exactly.
believe, I believe it is likely to be closer to one of the 2021s and 2022 cats. Okay, so Neha, maybe let's start with playing the Gejo's video, right? Can you just Gejo's take on VRC?
Hello, this week also I'm traveling. So this is going to be a recorded video of the analysis of the CDC Pro number 8 or the open CDC 3 of the VRC section. What is interesting, if I look at the score, I'm kind of surprised to see this. If the score is more like what we saw probably in 2021. I mean, like people were able to get 75 fifth percentile was about 24 marks, which is probably very similar to what we have seen in the past. Obviously, you know that each of these tests also has 3 slots, right? So this is very, very similar to this. And I know why this happened. Okay. So before getting into that, let me just give you overview about what kind of paper you just took. We had, of course, 4 passages. This one was taken from this website written by the gentleman called Jared Diamond. The same website was a source for a CAT 2023 paper. Public books was also a website for a CAT 2023 paper. This AON says that this AON says had about 1,000 words. 500 words. So this NSA has got about 1,500 words, roughly about 1,500 words. The original article was in multiple part. The second part of this particular article had come in the CAT 2018. So this particular passage took the first part. So obviously the first part was very different from the second part, but that's a story here. So if you look at the grade, some of them are dense, right? So probably this is the fourth passage is probably the passage when you started reading, you said, "What's going on?" And I'm sure that this passage on biology about epigenetic changes would have struggled you a lot. But these two passages were kind of easy to read. And if you look at the verbal ability, it has taken from all over the place, like always, and it had the normal challenge. Now, let's look at what happened with respect to the accuracy versus attempt. By the way, this is a percentage accuracy. The bar at these points are the percentage attempt. That says that what percentage of students attempt the particular question. And out of those who attempted, what is the percentage accuracy? Let's start by looking at reading comprehension first. So let's start with reading comprehension in terms of what happened with reading comprehension. What happened with reading comprehension was this particular passage. The second passage was also easy to read. Apparently also had easy question, which is where there were easy 12 marks for the taking. In fact, if I look at, I don't know what happened in terms of attempt for the first question. This was a question which is like an application question in terms of if you're taking mock test, how will you analyze the mock test? That sort of was a question. Very strange that many of you decided not to attempt. It was kind of also pretty easy. So it was almost touching close to about 80%. So that was the 12 marks. I believe it was that actually pushed the score a little high. A little bit, just this particular passage, right? In fact, there was a passage from Aeon says. The rest of the passage, the story is more or less the same. I think I'm kind of surprised as to why people did not solve the last passage. If you actually look at it, these are of course there were some medium questions, medium level questions here, one easy sort of question, but every other passage had challenge. So if I start looking at the first passage, I think anything above 4 marks would have been kind of safe. I think 8 marks would have been fantastic. 8 marks plus would have been fantastic. The second passage, we needed about 12 marks. The third passage, I believe that we should get about 8 marks, which is about epigenetic changes. There was one question which has got 15% accuracy. This is sort of a very, I mean, this is an amazing question, right? The options were really amazing. I know that you are absolutely not convinced with the answer. You say that, how is that possible? How is that possible? I tried my best to explain why that is the correct answer. Hopefully, that would have satisfied you. If it does not satisfy you, I'm urging you that that answer is correct. Right. I want you to think a bit in terms of why the answer choice is correct. And if anyone got this particular question correct, I think it's fantastic, right? So it's very likely to put 8 marks. And I thought I felt that 8 marks were worth the taking. If someone want kind of solving all the passages, we're looking at maybe about 20, 28 plus 4, about 32 marks here. Is from here all the four. If you're looking at something like three passages, I'm thinking that you should probably get about 24 marks. 24 marks to about 32 marks I think would have been anything about 32 marks from the reading competition would have been fantastic. Now, when it comes to verbal ability, what was is both these questions of the multiple choice question. So this is almost like very close to about 60%, right? Accuracy is very close 60%. Those are actually manageable. One of the things I never understood, and this is something that I'm seeing of late. Look at this. No, look at this. You see this the accuracy has increased. The attempt has decreased. Accuracy increased, attempt decreased. I don't know what's going on. But that's okay. But here is where I think this question was there was only one place for this particular sentence, and you actually had to look at echo in terms of the word echoing. There is one place, and somebody who was careful enough to identify that one place could have got put the question correct. And this paragraph jumble, I think odd sentence and paragraph jumble here was really tough. The paragraph jumble all had one sentence. You don't know where to place that particular sentence. You probably would have got three sentences you could have arranged properly. Then you're looking at where will you place one sentence. It can get here, it can get here, it can get there. I think that's would have been the challenge in both the paragraph jumble question and also one of the odd sentences. One of the odd sentences is very very crazy, but I believe that what is here is about 12 plus marks If it would have got a bit fantastic. So again, 32 plus 12 is about 44 plus marks overall. I think that's where the story is, about 99 percentile plus, right? That's where the story is. You have had to. One of the things that would have happened here is your accuracy would have been high. Maybe if you would have probably got about 12 marks here, 12 marks here, you see the score would have been slightly better than last time. Last mock, in this particular mock, if you made mistakes and if your scores are low, and that's something that you should sort of care about. But of course, all these are learning the opportunities for you. Okay, there's one more thing I want to talk about. Now, when I recorded the solution, I had to travel. I had to take a flight, so I had just about 600 data, right? 600 data. 600 students had taken the test when I actually recorded the video solution. Now this is more than 4,000 students, right? This chart, if you look at this, green, yellow, red, uh, uh, yellow, four greens, yellow, red, green, 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 all yellows, yellow, green, red, 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 yellow, green. This is the data with about 600. It's exactly the same. So the whole idea that how much of data is required to make a sensible analysis of this one. This is in fact this is when I actually record the video. There's about 600 students that taken the test when I had picked this. There's about first two slots of the mock. This is about 4,000. Look at there's practically no change. So those of you assuming that whether these the data analysis that we are doing is relevant or not, you should understand statistics, right? And you should understand sample size. Just saying. All right, over to GP, Shivku, and I don't know who else is there to do the rest. You have anything you want to add? You can add here. I'll see you next week. Next week also probably is going to be very similar. I think most of the time you probably going to see me like this. Okay, bye.
Yeah. So that was Gejo. I mean, his view on uh, VARC. So let's kind of uh, shift to DILR. Okay. तो रवि जीपी तुम्हारा व्यू क्या है?
GP,
जीपी
you're on
you're
mute.
muted.
Yeah, my view is slightly different from what Ravi was saying. ये I would not say कि बहुत मुश्किल पेपर था. Whatever the scores might suggest, end of the day there was one set which was very chiller item, which was 35 to 39. Okay, the other sets you needed to read. So whether you look at set number 1, which you need to read a lot to understand करना क्या है, but I am sure people who have studied so much into futures contract मालूम है, they would have been able to pick it up straight away. Similarly, if you look at the last set again you need to read a lot to understand करना क्या है. And I'm sure in the last set people would have also struggled as to how the data should be tabulated. That could have been a struggle, but the third set, that bar chart, I thought was very easy and practically everyone should have got it right. So that was the one which I would be disappointed. And actually, data को देखते हैं, even in that people have got only 2 are easy and 2 are difficult. Let me see मेरा क्या था इसके अंदर. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what has happened, but I would say this is disappointing performance in the paper because I felt that third set definitely, if not 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5 was possible. And between set number 1 and 4, one could have picked up any one of the other. One of the two and at least gone through the whole process. And even if it takes you time, you would have got it right. Okay. The reason why I'm saying this is when you look at set number 1 or even set number 4, to some extent, set number 1 is one of those sets where there is no table to be made. You understand the logic, and every question has to be an independent question, and then you can pick and choose the right questions to attempt. So if you are unnecessarily confused, if you are not sure what to do, you can also leave that question and still continue. So out of these 5, I think that 2 to 3, and which is what is visible, first and third, by and large, people have got it right. I will have to check कि second or fifth में क्या था. But I think 3 out of 5 in this set would have been possible. if you would have understood the data, because it was a logic of which was clear. And last wala set again 2 to 3 was definitely doable. So I would say in this paper about 10, where I agree with Ravi कि 8, 10, 9, 10 का तो पक्का बनता था. Leading effort बहुत ज़्यादा है. And the one set which I personally would kept would not have attempted or would have kept it for the last is set number 2. For the simple reason, table में movement वगैरह बहुत है, and I felt it would take me time. So that is what I would say about DILR.
And that captures the essence of it, GP. Second set may, if you look at, the moment I got into the analysis session and I was with Shivku backstage, I was telling क्या मजदूरी वाला पेपर बनाया है DILR. The first set and the second set, both of them are only proper मजदूरी. Okay, all you have to do is calculations and make sure that in the second set at least, all you have to make sure is you are accounting for the correct movements from A to B to C to D to E to F, whatever is happening.
Yes.
And it is the challenge with the second set, GP, more is that, see, when I was recording the solution, because I was doing it on screen, I had the liberty to remove or erase the arrows that I was drawing from C to E, or
Yes.
A to F or A to D, right? But when you do it on paper, you'll have to take down the numbers 5 times.
Absolutely.
You'll have to.
And Ravi, just to add to what you're saying, if there were 3 rounds only, I would have not. I would have probably picked it up, because this was 5 rounds and movement is happening from round 1 up to round 5. So the task becomes that much more bigger. So which is why to my mind ये वाला set कहने लायक नहीं था, इसको end के लिए छोड़ देना चाहिए. But I don't think set number 1 was that much of mazduri. Set number 1, the mazduri was to read the set and understand the logic. If you understand the logic, you'll have to do it. If you don't understand the logic, obviously there's nothing you can do. But there was no mazduri once you start solving the set. There was mazduri in understanding that half a page of story has to be understood, and you have to understand. My guess is many students may not have understood that the premium has to be paid upfront. And वहाँ पे भी गलती करती है, अगर upfront premium को नहीं account किया, ठीक है? And then there was one question जिसमें मेरे को याद है. Let me just see paper. I think second or third question. Third question नहीं शायद वो. Third नहीं. Fourth question. Fourth question only 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fourth medium level पे आया है. ठीक है? The fourth question was कुछ calculation था ही नहीं. The maximum loss will happen जब कुछ काम नहीं करेगा, ना खरीदेगा, ना बेचेगा, खाली उसका प्रीमियम का लॉस होगा. That is the maximum loss.
Correct.
So there's no. So when I look at those 5 questions, I think 5th question had some calculation, but others were not so calculation intensive. So मेरे को वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा है कि set number 1 was more of a logic based set. If you understand the logic, there's hardly any calculation, and if you don't understand the logic, in any case, you can't do anything about it. Yeah.
See, so, GP, one thing about it is to reach to the 4th question of that first set, you already need to be neck deep in water. Okay. Because see, these type of sets are easy to solve and easy to leave also, because there's nothing you have to put on paper. All you do is mehnat in terms of understanding what is happening in the setup, right? And then based on each of the cases, you solve it. And when the third question itself says that Ramu is an intelligent politician and a trader also, then you tend to get caught off the mark. Right? And I mean, you already, to reach to the 4th question, you have to read those. The only problem with the first set is that, see, if the first question that reads, ABC Industries signs a contract for purchasing 20 kiloliter of oil from SOT at a contract price.
Right.
If the data, in the question, it was represented as contract 123, and said कि ABC bought contract 2. ठीक है? तो वो क्वेश्चन पढ़ने का उतना टाइम से हो जाता, और because you have to retain a lot of information throughout, that is the place where I feel the people have made those mistakes.
But Ravi, कहीं पे तो काम करना होगा. Either you have to do work in terms of creating a table and doing lots of calculation, or you'll have to spend time in reading the data, understanding it, and reading the question. So somebody will have to do some work. And I always believe when the questions are easy, length अपने आप बढ़ा देते हैं लोग. And that is what I would say was the story of this particular set. This set is easy if you understand the setup. If you don't understand the setup, if you're getting confused, then you should leave it and move on. And I'm sure the students who have done commerce, economics, some of them who are good in finance would probably have immediately cracked this set.
But I agree with you. The third set is the most doable one, right? In the entire paper, the third set was the most doable one. The problem with the fourth set is, just like GP said, it is the way you represent data, right? So if you are aware of game theory, that after one thing happens, the other thing happens, and in these two, what is the payoff for both the parties? If you have seen it somewhere, it is basically that kind of a game that is happening over here, because the dealer is already putting his card there, then the other player is putting the other card, and according to that the various questions are given. So you have to only maximize your payout or minimize your payout accordingly in that question. Now that reminds, GP, one more thing is question 38, guys. I have recorded the video solution of the third set, but I think question 38, my answer is wrong, because the question says what is the minimum difference of tablets distributed in branch A and branch D, and I recorded the answer for what is the minimum sum of tablets distributed for branch A and branch D. What I'll do is I'll record that question separately and try to upload it again. Otherwise, you can also refer to the set. I'm just going through the questions again. I realized I made a mistake while recording that.
But Ravi and Shifu, I think the set number was a very good set from a learning perspective. Now, if you go to the solution of this set, then you will understand in future any kind of set of games and this kind of a thing, how should you represent the data? So I think that learning is
JP, your voice is meek.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying this is a set number 4. From a learning perspective, a terrific set, because this will help students understand for future as to how data in these kind of sets should be tabulated. Because this was just a case of data tabulation, otherwise you will be all over the place. The level of difficulty would increase significantly if you don't tabulate it properly. Okay? So from my point of view, this is a paper in which one should have started from set number 3. Then you go either to set number 4 or set number 1. And it is quite possible you will end up doing 3-4-1 or 3-1-4. And in set number 1 and 4, you'll probably do 2-3 questions each. So you'll probably end up with not with 15 attempts, maybe about 10 to 12 attempts.
I think one is a mechanical set only. One is a mechanical set.
Actually,
a little bit of logic of understanding कब कौन किससे खरीदेगा या नहीं खरीदेगा.
No, if you understand the logic in set number 1 and if you start solving the questions, so spend some time. When I was solving the first set, I spent somewhere around 7 to 8 minutes to understand what question is exactly saying. After that, none of the question has taken me more than 1.5 minutes. एक बार समझ में आया, सीधे आंसर दिख रहा है. Question number 1 and question number 2. I'm not sure why everyone got question number 2 wrong. I got the answer immediately. Because that question is saying कि वो जो बंदा है उसने प्रीमियम दिया लेकिन वो महंगे में बेच सकता है, तो उसका लॉस ही प्रीमियम का है, right? So when I looked at this, right, Shipu sir, you are at mute.
Why people have got it wrong? People have marked probably 50,000 as the answer, right? Because वो subtract किया होगा, and it is anyway. I think conceptually the reason also is somebody could say, oh, this is knowledge oriented, right? जिसका finance में knowledge है, he would have just walked away with the question.
Yeah.
But I think there are concepts, there are questions where it could be linked to some knowledge part that have come in CAT in the past, right? So stocks के इतने सारे sets आ चुके हैं in the past. Somebody could say, oh, I don't know about anything about stocks, but I believe if somebody reads it, you don't need to understand stocks in this.
Shifu, I don't think that's a valid argument जो students का कई बार आता है. For the simple reason, by that logic, games and tournaments, half the sets will go out. ठीक है, so वो valid नहीं है. As long as the logic has been given clearly, it is your job to read and understand. If someone has prior knowledge of that particular domain, that's advantage to that individual. But that is not a disadvantage for you because the data to be able to solve the data set is given to you completely, and which is what is fine in this set. To me, it is, all I'm saying is someone who has interest in that area could have an advantage. But if you don't have knowledge of that area, you can still understand it fully. And as Shashank said, maybe it'll take you 5, 6, 7 minutes to understand the setup, and then it'll take you another 5 odd minutes to do the 5 questions. So
इसमें
10,
मुझे
12,
लगता है
15 minutes you will complete the set.
मुझे लगता है बहुत स्पेसिफिक नॉलेज जो है वो प्रीमियम समझने के लिए चाहिए थी कि व्हाट इज प्रीमियम एग्जैक्टली. इफ समवन क्रैक्ड प्रीमियम के प्रीमियम का मतलब आप अपफ्रंट पे कर रहे हो, दे गॉट द आंसर इमीडिएटली. प्रीमियम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की गारंटी नहीं है, एडवांस है. उसके बाद मेरा मन है तो मैं बेचूंगा, नहीं मन है तो नहीं बेचूंगा.
So it became long because ये सारे explain करना था.
वो तो होगा शिव को. I don't have an issue with the length इसके अंदर, because देखो net what do you do? If you look at the amount of time required to understand the data set plus the amount of time required to solve the 5 questions is maybe 12, 13, 15 minutes by and large for an average student. That would be the case for most of the sets. So when students say I'm able to do a maximum of 2 sets, they are spending about 15 minutes per set. So I don't think uska mere ko issue hai koi. What I am not happy about when I look at this chart is the fact that set number 3 has only about 50% attempt. That to me is something which needs to be looked at. That how come you missed the easiest set in this paper? That you don't understand set number 1 maafi hai. Set number 4 का data कैसे tablet नहीं करना चाहिए, I have not understood. Again, it is okay. But set number 3, if you have missed that set, then it is something which is not acceptable.
सर एक्चुअली दिक्कत ये है कि बच्चों को ना प्यार हो जाता है कि मतलब सेट पढ़े, 7 मिनट सेट पे लगा दिए, फिर प्यार हो गया, अब छोड़े कैसे. अब तो 7 मिनट लग गए, अब दूसरे सेट पे भी 7 मिनट लगाने पड़ेंगे समझने के लिए.
वहां तक पहुंचे क्यों? Again, we have been talking about this across all sessions in RT99 that you have to evaluate all sets before you choose one.
True.
And if you are evaluating all these sets, set number 1 very clearly is a new idea for most of the students. They should not be starting from set number 1. Set number 2, it is very clear there will be a lot of movement from one column to the other column to the next column. Hence can be very, very confusing. And as Ravi rightly said, जब हम स्क्रीन पे करके मिटा सकते हैं, it helps us a lot. But if I have to do the same thing on paper, it can be damn confusing. Set number 4, again, it is talking about a game and tournament. It's similar to set number 1 in terms of the fact you have to understand the rules of the game and then you can apply them. So if one goes through all the 4 sets logically and does not do set number 3, I would say that student has definitely missed out the easiest set.
Okay, so let's. Acha, Ravi, you attempted it QA.
Yeah.
तुम्हारा कैसे था sequence?
Sequence, see, my strategy is having no strategy, Shivko. I go from question 1 to question 22. In quant and in DILR also. Normally, I believe that I have to solve everything that is there. ठीक है, और जो नहीं आ रहा है उसको छोड़ते जाए. तो my point is, unless you aim for the sky, you will not even land on the tree. So I go with the mindset that I have to solve anything that is coming in my way. If I am not able to solve at that moment, I'll keep living. Right? I will not carry that ego with me. So I started from question 1, went to question 22. I will not.
Can you share that paper?
Yeah. Just a second.
Yes.
Shivku, in DI, sorry, in quant, my strategy is exactly like Ravi, not in DI. DI, I'll choose my sets, but in quant, I will start from the first question, keep leaving questions which I don't understand or don't like. And
I've shared it. You'll have to put it on screen, Neha, or someone.
Wait 1 second. Let me see. मेरे पास.
Shivku, do you have the rights with you?
I don't have the rights, but I will share it. Let me download it and share it. So paper तुमको कैसे लगा? When
So
you
paper, in the paper there were, as I said at the beginning itself, there were not many questions that you could leave from the looks of it. मतलब every question would draw your attention. मतलब ऐसा कोई question नहीं था जिसने मतलब 2023 slot 1 में there was a question on, let us say, the locus of a point ये है. ऐसा कोई डरावना चीज था नहीं पेपर में. Everything that
2023 में
was familiar to me. वो बुला रहे
2023
थे
में तो
मेरे को
सभी
रवि
छोटा
करने
सब
करके
लोग
बात.
सभी छोड़ते जा रहे थे. 2023 में लोग सब छोड़ते जा रहे थे. ये भी छोड़ दो, ये भी छोड़ दो, ये भी छोड़ दो, फिर एक मिलेगा.
बट उससे मेरे ख्याल से वो आसान भी हो गया था.
हाँ हाँ हाँ. The people who were very good at leaving, they have done better.
Yep. But in this paper, I didn't think there were too many questions which were worth leaving just by looking at it. Right. But this was a paper again which was, there were some questions definitely which were Jugaad oriented questions, but some questions required you to inherently have that knowledge. For example, find the number of trailing zeros at the end of 10 power 10 power 10. वो A है, उसके end में कुछ trailing zeros है. That would require you to work through it. Right?
ये
After
दिख रहा
knowing
है
the
क्या अभी?
concept. No, you
And
still have to add it to the stage. You have to come to StreamYard again
Ravi,
and add.
yeah. So Ravi, ये जो है ना, मैंने तो छोड़ दिए हैं. मेरे को तो लगे थे कई सवाल which I would not want to attempt. So I, for example, that 10 to power factorial to power 10 factorial to power 10 factorial, I left it immediately. I काम करना पड़ेगा.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
Similarly, the
there
first question itself, I left it. Yeah. Who's going to find number of solutions? I did not like the look of the equation itself.
the number of solutions agar see, I have a very simple funda GP. If the question is number of solutions and mod, I leave. If the question is number of solutions and quadratic, I solve. With quadratic, I feel comfortable. Okay. And the good thing is I could see a k and k plus 3 and a plus 3. Right. What is inside the this is so it could have been done in that way.
So
You could go there.
so
That's what
basically
you
when I
बाद में सोचेंगे इसमें. So for me, the first question, this factorial wala question, there was another question which said divided by 9 gives a remainder 2 and 7. That question, so those questions I kept on leaving.
no, actually, I have taken a very random approach to solve that question, that remainder one. So I have assumed a one number that after being divided by 9 leaves a remainder 2. So I have assumed one number is 20. I have assumed second number as something. Okay, then I solved the equation. I got the value of x and y. I didn't care whether it is integer or a fraction. Then I put it in the actual value, that is 9x plus 8y, and that it became integer. And I got the answer, and the answer is right.
I did it in a different approach. If you have the rights, you can just add to stage my presentation if you have the rights.
And there was a question ke ek triangle hai, there is a median and there is a perpendicular. So
That is an equilateral triangle.
That is an equilateral triangle. Perpendicular is equal to median. It is an equilateral triangle. So basically, answer is 30. Simple.
Yeah. That is an equilateral triangle. Nothing else would have made sense there. If people did anything else, I saw the text solution, by the way. There is some cosine rule or sine rule which was applied there. Which is okay. I can understand.
No, I have taken both approaches. I have solved it like this as well. Because
but Shashank, ये जो तुम कह रहे हो ना regarding that question of divided by 9 gives remainder 2 and 7. I left it because I was stuck on integers. So what you have given me is the reward for the future. कि integer की चिंता मत करो, solve कर लो, बाद में देखी जाएगी.
Final value जो है वो integer.
20 और 25 करो check. That was my first thing. But then I said, yeah, 25 is not going to. I will not get 2x plus 4y equal to 25 because it's an even thing. Okay. So but you have given me the reward for future. In future, I'll not worry about the integer है कि नहीं. कर लो solve, बाद में देखी जाएगी.
What I did is, there is one equation which had 4x plus 3y, the other had 2x plus 4y. Now 4x and 2x, both of them is even, and we need 9x in the end. So I said 2x plus 4y, I divided it by 2 and said it is x plus 2y. And instead of 7, I said 9 plus 7, 16. So I said remainder is 8. and then I added both the equations. I got that 9x plus 8y directly. So I mean, I also assumed those numbers by doing some division and those things only.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, I had seen one question.
But interesting question है. For future, it will be a good jugaad to have.
And there was a question that is 2x up minus 8 upon the quadratic equation.
Yeah.
So basically, I was seeing the data. A lot of people have done it right, but I think that question needs specific knowledge, because it should be equal to. You should assume that it is equal to 2, cross multiply, make a quadratic equation, and solve it. So basically, I'm still looking for a jugaad for that, but haven't got it. So there is a very standard approach. I follow that, and I have seen a lot of people doing solving that question with the same approach. So still looking for alternate approach. So let's see. And I was very surprised. A lot of people have gotten that answer right. So
शिवू
Now,
पेपर
that is
लोड
one
नहीं हुआ
question.
क्या?
That is
हाँ,
one
मेरे से वो
question.
अपलोड नहीं हो रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों.
मैं D का वैल्यू डाल के D
राधिका
greater than
मतलब
equal,
नहीं डालना है ना.
मैं D greater than equal to 0 डाल के छोड़ दिया पेपर में कि यार ये क्या यार मिनिमम निकाल करके छोड़ दिया मैं. That is one question I left in the paper. I think when it comes to questions of arithmetic also, there was one question which said 41 19 by 21. Now people, because they are not familiar with 41 19 by 21, would have left it, but it was not a question worth leaving. It was not a question worth leaving. It is a one step question. If you just keep multiplying,
single line.
7 and 5 and you just keep multiplying and equate.
You know what is the most difficult part I got in that question? That is converting the that fractional percentage into actual fraction.
Yeah.
बस उसके क्वेश्चन में कुछ नहीं.
उसमें कुछ नहीं था यार. मैंने उसको 60 उसको मैंने राउंड ऑफ कर दिया. 19 by 21 is 1% यार. क्यों बेकार में करना है मुझे? That was 41 19 by 21. No, I said it is 42% and 58%. The answer came to some 30, some 58, some 0.01 extra आया था तो मैंने उसको आउट ऑफ डाउन कर दिया. So based on that, my answer was something like 39.1, so I made it 39 or something like that.
ये दिख रहा है क्या अभी?
नहीं शिवू. Is Ratika or Neha are they in the studio, Shivu?
नहीं.
Because I can't see them. I'm not logged in from my account.
And have you seen that question where it is milk is to water ratio is 2:k and milk is to water is 1:k? So when I started the question, I started assuming the value of k. The question says k is an integer, so I have started with 2:1 and 1:1, then 2, then 3. So I got the value at 3. So k is 3. That's it.
यही किया मैंने भी. Because ultimately you need 30% water or whatever it was. 3:7 था ना कुछ उसमें.
हाँ.
So that means one had to be less than 30, other had to be more than 30.
बस.
So k की वैल्यू डाली, k equal to 3 पे आ जाता है.
अच्छा जीपी, इसमें एक और मैंने पेपर के टाइम पे I had missed that जुगाड़, but I'll tell you what. Finally you want 3:7, right?
Yeah.
7 is बहुत बड़ा as compared to 3, right? आपके पास है 2:k और 1:k, और 2:k का फाइनल कॉन्सेंट्रेशन और 1:k का फाइनल कॉन्सेंट्रेशन, दे आर इन द रेशियो, मिक्स्ड इन द रेशियो 1:2. मतलब k is definitely bigger than both 1 and 2. मतलब k is a minimum of 3. If k is a minimum of 3 और 2:3 दिया है, उसका 10 लीटर दिया है, तो मिनिमम 25 लीटर a का गया है, तो मिनिमम 50 लीटर b का जाना था, and there was only option greater than or one option greater than or equal to 50. Only one option would have been possible. नहीं तो 3:7 आता ही नहीं वहां पे, because you had to go greater than 200%. 3:7 is greater than, मतलब 7 is more than 100% greater than 3, right? तो वो जो k होना था in both the cases could not have been anything less than 1 or 2. So the minimum value you could have started with for assuming for k, assumption for k itself had to be 3. And उससे डायरेक्ट आपका 50 से नीचे आ ही नहीं सकता.
True.
So which are the questions that you think are doable? Isme, if you were to pick the question numbers.
Shift
Question
to, I
number.
think 45 is doable. First question, it
So
is a simple question of ये कहते हैं क्या?
So
Simple
स्क्वायर
question,
करके आ जाएगा. हाँ, हाँ.
no,
right?
पहले क्वेश्चन में I would say if you are unable to understand that it is a is equal to root of a plus 3 within 30 seconds to a minute, then
Yep.
that question should be left out. ठीक है.
Yep.
सेकेंड क्वेश्चन ज्योमेट्री में अगर आपको बहुत स्पेसिफिक नॉलेज नहीं है कि ट्रायंगल कैसे काम कर रहे हैं, देन यू शुड लीव इट. वो क्लियरली दिख रहा है कि इक्विलेटरल ट्रायंगल तो नहीं है.
हाँ, but इसमें जो है ना, when you look at
हाँ.
question number 2, I think this kind of a question have come in the past, in not only in CAT papers but also in some of the mock CATs this year itself.
हाँ.
So when we talk about that, the ultimately ratio of area लेके करना है. I distinctly remember one such question like this in one of the earlier mocks. I don't remember whether it was pro or flexi, but it was there. So my issue here then would be, if you have done that question and you are missing out on this, then it's a problem. What you have seen earlier, you should be able to do in future.
Right.
I think when it comes to question 3, there is a simple जुगाड़ in this question 3. ये functions वाला जो question है,
बहुत
it
अच्छा
says
सवाल है.
that f of n is either n minus 3 or f of n is f of n plus 5, right? And you are asked f of 994.
1000 के आसपास ही होगा.
अब 994 जाके बढ़ के n plus 5 कितने भी बार करोगे तो भी ज्यादा से ज्यादा 1010 होगा. Then your answer had to be greater than 994, less than 1010. There is only one option.
शिव को मैंने भी exactly यही किया. मैंने कहा आंसर has to be somewhere around 1000. बाकी छोड़ो, 243 minus 345 का तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं है.
Because you have only two options. Either f of n is at the end of the day n minus 3, and somewhere you will come back to 1000 and you will get this only. 243, 345, 1023 are out of bounds. Not possible.
So I would say that
And if you look at question number 48, I think it's a very generic question.
It's a very standard question.
Very standard question.
Must be solved. Should not leave.
48 तो definitely होना चाहिए था. 49.
49 also, the moment you get it, you put it on paper that A, B, and C have 20, 30, and whatever
45.
question, 25 questions in C.
45.
And 45 है क्या? हाँ.
45.
And
45 है.
A and B taken together, you have to get what? A and B taken together,
10
you have
wrong.
to get 40 out of
10
50
wrong.
correct. And B and C taken together, you have to get 57 out of 75 correct.
Question is
18
talking
error.
about wrong, so go with wrong only. So 10 wrong and 18 wrong.
So if Ella answered maximum possible incorrect questions in the test, in test 3, the maximum possible incorrect questions here is 18. So she gets 27 here correct. She gets 30 on 30 correct here.
And
So if
10
she gets
incorrect.
30 on 30 correct here, she needs to get 10 questions wrong here only.
Right.
इसमें कुछ भी है ही नहीं.
कुछ नहीं. इसमें जो दिक्कत है ना, इसमें भाषा बहुत बड़ी लिखी हुई है. जहां पे आप पांच लाइन की थ्योरी लिख दोगे तो क्वेश्चन समझ में आना ही बंद हो जाता है.
No, but I think it is important for people or students to realize that you're not going to get one-liner, two-liner as the significant part. I remember 2022 CAT became tough because the length of the questions, even for easy questions, were the average length had gone up significantly. So ये जो reading comprehension is important for quant also is a undeniable fact.
Correct. I think most of the times where students get wrong answers is when they miss reading something or when they misinterpret something that is given. And I think your proficiency in verbal helps a lot in this case. Now, this is a question that will require you some specific knowledge. If you are very good at numbers, you solve it, you'll get it. But if you're not, then it is a on the face leave it question. When coming to 51, ये तो सर शशांक सर ये देखो 7 है and this is 5. 7 में there is a reduction of 10% and 25. Here there is a reduction of 10 and n%. So 10 का तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं है.
25 और n.
7 gets 25% reduced, it becomes 3
So
by
3
4.
by 4.
It gets n% reduced, it becomes 100 minus n by 100.
By 100.
This is the selling price of this item in the end.
B.
This is the selling price of this item in the end, and it is given that this selling price is this much percent less. This much comes out to be what? 880 divided by 2100 less. Yani what remains is 1220 by 2100.
बस
Equal
इतना ही
to
करना है.
the value of n. It's a one step process. If you read
I
the
have
question.
done the same way.
And
Yeah,
very
sir.
easy question I was saying, I have taken that as 42%.
Yeah, you
42%.
can approximate this to 42%. The only problem, GP, with approximation in such a question is that it's a theta.
That's okay. But
हाँ.
19 by 21 में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ना है.
It's very close to 42% in that sense. Then you come to 52. This is a standard jugaad.
Equilateral triangle.
This is an equilateral triangle. These multiple jugards are possible in 53, but yes, if you are not good at numbers, this question is not meant for you. I mean, if you can't see through those numbers and the patterns of things, and if you
Just
don't realize
agree the
that
number.
remainder
Just
of 7
agree.
is also remainder of 16, then you, because it's basically this is an even number. So if the remainder is 7, 9 plus 7, the number I am considering it to be 16. What's wrong? Right?
I am assuming the number itself कि 16 ही है. First वाला 20, second वाला 16. कर लो सर.
54 is a sitter.
54 is a sitter.
54 is a sitter. You just have to take the average of each of the numbers and add it. You'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You couldn't have asked. In the worst case, use a calculator.
ना अगर इसमें calculator इसमें नहीं.
तभी उसकी भी जरूरत नहीं है यार. एवरेज निकाल
Worst
देना.
case में मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
नहीं,
शिफ्टू, can you tell me
calculator
54 का attempt rate कितना है?
54 का मैं बताता हूँ.
Ravi, in this question, divide every number by 8 and add them.
Yeah, bas, that's it.
That is the method.
1 8 times, 1 1 1 1 7 times, and so on and so forth.
That is the method. GP.
हाँ.
That is the method. I am saying in the worst case तुमको कुछ नहीं सोच रहा है तो calculator use करो. 8-digit calculator तो दिया है तुमको. You'll still get the answer.
Yeah.
ये कौन सा question number 50?
54.
54 के attempts है 60%.
60%. I mean,
40% attempt नहीं किया है.
And Shiva, how many have got it right? Percentage accuracy?
About 70%.
Even that is bad.
70% of 60% have got it right.
So only
So
42% of people who
42%.
42% of people who took it got it right. That's not a good sign, guys.
I mean, अगर ये नहीं करेंगे तो और क्या करेंगे?
Now this is a standard question of SICI.
55, yeah.
नहीं, इसमें बड़ा सिंपल तरीका है. In the first line you get 28% of total क्योंकि simple interest है, and that is
Correct.
56%. So you get principal as 20,000.
20,000, correct.
Right. Now I have assumed the interest as X is 12%. First option 12 is to 11. So 12 ले लिया तो उससे 5088 match करना चाहिए.
Yeah.
Now if it matches, now you have two possible answers, either 12 is to 11 or 12 is to 10.
Yeah.
ठीक है, मैंने उसके बाद 10 पे सेकंड वैल्यू मैच कर ली, that is matching, so my answer is third. अगर नहीं करेगी तो answer is first.
In fact, Shashank sir, if you look at 6620, 6620
Oh, it is visible, it is
331 दिख गया तो 11 आ गया. 331 if you are able to see as interest, yeah, it is 1331, 11 cube. 11 by 10 is coming somewhere in the question. You cannot get rid of it. Okay. So it's a standard question. Again, question 56 is a standard question. While my attempt, I made a mistake in by not reading half. ये half नहीं पढ़ा मैंने और मैंने 18 मार्क कर दिया in my attempt.
That is a very generic error.
56
Question
is
number-
a standard. 57 is a standard question that you have found in multiple mocks. And multiple cats this question has come. I mean, there's a linear by quadratic or quadratic by linear, and you have to find the minimum or maximum value of it. You assume that is equal to k and find the discriminant greater than or equal to 0k limits.
Right.
Right. Question 58. Array. This was easy. 5. The number had to be a multiple of 5. The number had
And
to be a
7.
multiple of 7.
35
So
they
which
gave.
the number had to be either
7.
35 or 70. At 35, the number of red balls will be odd. So 35 is out. So 70.
The answer is 7.
You read this question, read karte, you will get the answer as 70. There's nothing to do in that question as such.
Right.
Now, I think this question, Shivko, you have to make a small correction. How
There is
far
going to be
could
a-
he be?
Because there are two
Good
possible
corner it should
answers.
be. There are two possibilities. Root of 199 is another possibility in this. But as the cat instructions very clearly say, mark the best option possible. Mark the best option possible. Only 11 out of the given options could have been an answer. But the problem with question 59 is this is highly concept oriented. If you don't know that concept, that from any point inside a rectangle or square, a square plus b square is c square plus d square, then you
चॉइस से नहीं हो सकता था.
चॉइस से 11 ही होना था.
हाँ.
But unless you know that concept, there is, I mean,
Can't do it.
there is one more possibility, Shivku. What we have considered is one possibility is this. This is 10, this is 5, this is 14. What is this? This must be 11, right? But if this is 10, if this is 14, this is 10, this is 5, then this will be root over 199,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So,
I get it.
so there are two possibilities, but out of the options, the best option is 11. 11 is the only possible option out of the given 4. Now, this again is a standard GP question. Not much of jugaad also required over here. You can take your jugaad also. You can assume values. You can assume the first value to be 1 and the common ratio to be 2. That's the easiest values that you could have assumed and got to the answer.
Right.
Ravi, in this question, I assumed values for the second one. So I said the first A is equal to 1, and the sixth term of the second series is 2 to power or something. 2 to power वो था. 10
Yep.
किया था मैंने. Because then you get rid of those decimals also.
So what I did in this is GP that you need a third term somewhere and you need a sixth term somewhere to be equal.
Right.
So AR square somewhere is equal to AR power 5.
Right. Absolutely. Which is
So
why
I
took
said
it to
what is 2 power 10 ले लेता हूँ.
Yeah. इसी ले लिया.
2 और 5 का मल्टीपल खत्म करो.
वो डेसिमल में आ जाता ना, पावर में रूट आ जाता तो unnecessary calculation बढ़ता है.
हाँ. The moment you have done that, it's over. The question is over. So एक मेरा आया a into r power 0, a r power 5, a r power 10. This is one of the series, and the other series is a r power 0, a r square, a r power 4, ऐसा करके a r power 10, and then you just have to match.
A और B कर दो.
Yep.
The second one is BR. हाँ. नहीं तो confusion हो जाएगी सबको.
नहीं, second one भी a ही है.
अच्छा,
First term
first
same.
term same दोनों में ना, हाँ, ठीक है.
First term तो दोनों के same है.
First term में दोनों A है.
This is again a standard question of time and work.
So
It may be you could have eliminated straight away choice 3 and 4.
Exactly. You require more than 25 days. You require more than 20 days.
Yeah.
So basically, how did I attempt this question? Okay, the question says every third day, 3 less people are working. So third day, there will be a deficiency of 3. So अगर मैं 20 दिन का हिसाब लूँ, तो थर्ड डे में 3 का डिफिशियंसी है, 6th डे में 6 का डिफिशियंसी है, 9th डे में 9 का डिफिशियंसी है. तो 20 दिन में कितना डिफिशियंसी आया, उसके बाद मुझे उस डिफिशियंसी को कवर करना है.
That's it.
That's right.
21st day.
That's it. In fact, what I did is I said 24 days तो minimum होना है. I said 8 cycles are completed. 8 cycles में normally 600 units should be complete. Right. अब I said third से 24th day में कितना deficiency आएगा, वो AP को minus कर दो और अगले दिन उतना बन रहा है कि नहीं. 25th day को नहीं बन रहा है तो answer is 26. बन रहा है तो answer is 25.
25. Right.
Now this is again A minus B.
Whole
There
square.
was a 4 over here, square over here. This is A minus B whole square. This is again a standard log question, but yes, it will require some working to realize that it is A minus B whole square form. So not very straightforward. Those of you who enjoy algebra or logarithm would have solved this. Now this is a straightforward question that we were thinking. This is a jugaad question. This is a straightforward jugaad. That K had to be a minimum of 3 because this is what I was saying, GP sir, कि 3:7 जाना है आपको. So 2:K और 1:K में आप 3:7 तभी जा पाओगे जब K 1 और 2 दोनों से बड़ा है. So K has to be a minimum of.
कर सकते हो. इसमें जो है इस क्वेश्चन में at least 4-5 different ways you can look at this one. एक चीज और कर सकते हो. This is 3/10.
Yep.
Milk is 3/10. And in the first one it is 2/2 plus K. And the other one is 1/1 plus K. 2 plus
Correct.
K and 1 plus K can only be 5 and 4.
Correct.
Only then you will get a denominator of 10.
Yep.
So there's an interesting question, some 3-4 different ways of looking at this question.
Yeah. Exactly. Denominator you require is 10. This is again a standard.
Shifu, I'm interested in finding out 64 का क्या correct है, कितना attempt and accuracy है.
64 का.
Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is a very similar question.
40% attempts.
Very, very disappointing.
This is a
Anyone
question
who's
of,
GP, there are only 9 questions that have been attempted by 40% or more. Only 2
Shifu,
questions have been attempted by 50% or more.
Shifu, the issue out with this question is that this is a question which we are discussing in raised to 99. Raised to 99, CAT 23 slot 1 paper, the question is exactly the same. Yeah, थोड़ा minor change है उसके अंदर.
some of it.
But with that 8 into K minus P. Now what I'm disappointed is जो पेपर में जो CAT का सवाल हम करा रहे हैं exactly वैसा सवाल आ गया क्यों नहीं किया. So 40% this is a disappointment because anyone who's attended this to 99 quant session should have got this right. Should have straight away solved this question.
Even otherwise, GP, simple sum of roots and product of roots नहीं आता है तो आपको quadratic equation में क्या आता है?
बिल्कुल. उसके बाद एक खाली substitution ही तो बचता है.
Quadratic equation is a topic you cannot leave. Linear and quadratic equations ka definitely 2 to 3 questions you will find in every paper. These are, and in quadratic equations, if you look at it, GP, over the last 3-4 years, there are no questions that are asked beyond the concept of either finding the point of minima or sum of roots and product of roots. Minus b by 2a, minus b by a or c by a के बाहर कुछ नहीं जाता है. Then उतना 3
और उसमें बस ये है कि कहानी बना देंगे. Instead of giving a direct equation, they will draw a story for this 5 lines. तो बस उससे eventually maximum minima ही बनेगा.
Correct. Shivku, did people attempt 65?
I'll tell you the number.
It's arithmetic, no? I just
My
want to
guess
see.
is no. My guess is नहीं किया होगा क्योंकि बहुत लंबी कहानी है.
65.
But this was an easy question.
20%.
See, if people attempted 65 and did not attempt 64, I would have been very unhappy. But if
64 has more attempts.
People did not attempt 65 also. I think people who did not attempt 64 did not reach till 64.
Quite possible.
वहां तक आए नहीं होंगे आखिरी 3 क्वेश्चंस. इसलिए 66 के तो 0 ही होंगे अटेम्प्ट्स.
66 के 20%
तो चिल्ला था यार.
20%. So people who
Just
did not
the
reach
power
this
of 2 and 5 years.
I think 65. You just write down the given data, you will find a way. But yes, this is a little bit of logic that you will require. People would fall for the trap of 36
Yes.
The answer should be 37.
In certain
This.
cases, the problem is if you are in this question, if you are using paper and pen,
Hmm.
then you will end up at 36. Because
नहीं कैसे?
nahi, actually, because when you are solving it, you will get an equation, and in that equation, the value becomes decimal. लेकिन सम आता है, ठीक है?
but
And
इसमें
Shashank,
मतलब
see,
तुम
what I'm
16
saying
को
is, in the first paper, her accuracy is at most
at most
80%.
50%. हाँ,
She needs 60 marks. So in the first paper, she attempts 5 questions. She gets 4 correct, 1 incorrect. She gets 15 marks out of it. So 15 marks in 5 questions, 60 marks she requires
20
20.
is clear. This
20
part
क्वेश्चन
is
Clear.
फॉर
clear.
बहुत वेरी क्लियर
The
ये
गलती
second one,
इंग्लिश में होगी
90% है.
गलती इंग्लिश
So
में होती है
out of 10 questions, you will get 35 marks. 9
हाँ,
correct and 1 incorrect. But the moment you go to one more question correct, matlab the next question, 11th question cannot be correct, because your accuracy will be more than 90% in that case. So what you
and
have to consider here is 56 marks is what you require. That means you need minimum 14 questions net correct. So you will start from solving assuming that 16 questions, because you need to make at least 2 errors. 16 questions सही किया तो 16 questions attempt किया तो क्या?
Ravi,
16 14 and
you
2
know,
won't satisfy, so 17 you should get
right?
15 and
Ravi,
whatever
the
No,
it is.
issue will be the
जब
issue that
अब
what students will do is they will do a linear thing. They will forget that the correct and incorrect answers have to be integer. You cannot have decimal incorrect answers.
today
Correct.
today
So,
today
so if you
there
start by saying क्वांट का 20 आ गया, now you need to just check कि उसका 16 है कि 15 है, 16 है कि 17 है. You just need to check for English is it 16 or 17 question. Check
Correct.
16.
no
90% of 16 is
actually
14.4. So you should not take 14. You should take 14. But if you go by that equation, कि I'm getting 90% right, and that 10 questions give me 35 marks, 16 questions give me how many marks, you will get it wrong. So if you do a linear thing, you'll get it wrong.
there was a student today in the class. He asked me after the class कि 10 में 35 आए हैं तो एक में 3.5 आएगा,
That's
राइट?
गलत हो गया.
तो 54 के लिए 16 चाहिए, राइट? सो आई सेड कैलकुलेट नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. तुमने 1.6 क्वेश्चन, हाउ कैन यू मेक 1.6 क्वेश्चंस रॉन्ग? एंड आई
वही
थिंक यही गलती है इसमें.
But that is the mistake. So
हाँ,
this is a trap. And question the 66, if you have time and you are just putting it down कि exactly क्या है, you will find the answer. ऐसा. So actually if you look at the entire paper, as I said, there was no वो locus type वाला question जो तुमसे बनेगा ही नहीं. There was no question in this paper जो बनेगा ही नहीं types.
But उसमें ना Ravi, the shocker is only 9 questions, 40% or above I've attempted.
See, Shivku, question 45 is a standard one. 48 is a standard one, right? If you look at 51,
Even
it's a standard
39.
type of question. 51 is a standard type of question. 3 standard types of question. 54 is a sitter. 55 is standard. 56 is standard. 57 is standard. 60 is a standard type of question. 61 is a standard type of question. 64 is a standard type of question. 63 is a standard type of question. There is minimum 11 questions in the paper which are every time asked. Multiple, if anyone has taken more than 3 or 4 mocks, would have encountered at least once each of these types of questions. So minimum 11 क्वेश्चन तो अटेम्प्ट करना बनता है बॉस ये पेपर में.
सिर्फ 9 क्वेश्चंस में 40% का अटेम्प्ट है.
शिवको issue वही है. I think that is where I think students need to now start not leaving questions, not leave questions just because शक्ल अच्छा लगा कि नहीं लगा. Need to read the question to understand and then decide what to do with it. Because as Ravi said, every CAT paper, if you look at it, has about 1/3 of the questions standard question. At last CAT 21 plot 3 paper had 10 standard questions. This paper has 10 standard questions. And one of those questions is almost the same as the question which has come in CAT 23 plot 1 paper, which we are discussing. Okay. So if you are going to forget the jugaad to side की बात है. If you are going to miss out on the standard question, you can never do well in the paper. Standard question, all they need is put your pen on paper, do the calculation if required, write down the equation if required, do it by the long method, short method, jugaad, whatever you do does not matter. But these standard questions you can't afford to miss.
that 2 upon 2 plus k, 1 upon 1 plus k डिनोमिनेटर 10 आना चाहिए, नहीं हुआ तो कोई क्या फर्क पड़ता है, वेटेज एवरेज लगा के हो जाएगा, इक्वेशन बना के हो जाएगा. Now my issue is, are you doing that, or are you just looking at question and leaving, or just wasting time on some of the questions which you don't understand? To me, that would be the only issue which students need to work out for themselves.
I think वही है कि this was a paper in which you can get 30 marks in 30 minutes. उसके बाद आप क्या करते हो खुद के साथ is totally in your hands. But if you're not getting those 30 marks in 30 minutes, you need serious change in the way you are preparing. You're not looking through the previous year questions so far. You're not looking through the mocks so far and not practicing or revising them. If you fail to attempt, if you fail to attempt 10, 11 questions in this paper, anyone who is attempting 10 or 11 questions in this paper, I suggest go back to your drawing board, go back to the question papers of CAT and start solving them from 2018 to 2023. All the question papers, topic wise if you want, or module wise if you want, go back and do those. And you will find that all of these are standard type of questions that have appeared multiple times in the paper. Even question 3 that is there, this one, functions wala, is a standard question only, no? I have just not written standard over here, 47.
वो देखते ही दिमाग में आना चाहिए, इटरेटिव होगा, 6 देखो हो जाएगा,
6-7 बार करोगे हो जाएगा,
हो ही जाएगा. हाँ बस.
बिल्कुल.
Exactly.
And you know what I tell my students. So basically क्या है कि सबको ये है कि मटेरियल खत्म हो गया, बहुत क्वेश्चन कर लिए, अच्छा मटेरियल का है. So basically I tell them कि the must do things are एक तो जो previous year CAT papers हैं वो तो करना ही करना है. Plus so after 3 weeks हमारे पास पुराने मॉक की मेमोरी खत्म हो जाती है, हमें याद नहीं रहते. सो आई से कि एक बार आपने मॉक दे दिया, 3 हफ्ते बाद वापस से उस मॉक को एक बार जाकर जाओ देखो. You will get variety of questions and you don't understand you don't have conceptual clarity, इसीलिए आप आगे वाले मॉक में सिमिलर क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट नहीं कर पा रहे हो, क्योंकि मैं लैंग्वेज में एक लाइन चेंज कर दूंगा तो आपसे आपका आंसर आना बंद हो जाएगा. राइट, कैट में भी वही है. सो बेसिकली माय सजेशन टू ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स हु आर सेइंग दे आर स्ट्रगलिंग विद वैरायटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, दे शुड गो बैक टू द फर्स्ट मॉक, do it again, whether time wise or no time wise, जैसे करना है करो, सेकेंड मॉक करो, थर्ड मॉक करो, तो उसमें जो अच्छे अच्छे क्वेश्चंस है, जो वैरायटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस है, they are going to cover, because I think we are covering all variety in all our mocks. तो सारी चीजें लगभग उससे कवर हो जाएंगी, प्लस डेली डोज उससे भी हेल्प हो जाएगा. सो द मटेरियल, जो लोग कहते हैं कि मटेरियल नहीं है, मटेरियल नहीं है, मटेरियल नहीं है, वो कर लो, इतना कर लो. वापस से पुराने मॉक जो आज से 3 मॉक पहले तुमने एलआरडीआई दिया था, अभी वापस से वही एलआरडीआई का 4 सेट उठा लो, वो नहीं होंगे. उस टाइम तुमने करे थे एनालिसिस में, अब नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो वापस से डू इट. राइट, सो आई थिंक हाँ
वही वापस से करना, रिवाइजिंग द सेम क्वेश्चन हैज अ लॉट ऑफ वैल्यू टू माय माइंड. आई मीन सी व्हाट हैपेंस इज, इवन इफ यू, ब्रूस ली पागल नहीं था ना यार. ब्रूस ली सेड कि I fear not the fighter who has practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear the fighter who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Right? So there is always value in revisiting something. You learn something. You see, how do you think GP has developed a jugaad for himself while solving a question? Because
multiple questions and multiple times.
He would have first, back in the day, he would have probably solved it using the concept also sometime. But then over a period of time, while looking at it, he has developed a pattern for himself, saying that ऐसे question में यही लगता है.
Ravi, forget about wo. In this paper, in discussion, in that 2 plus k, 1 plus k वाला सवाल, हमारे बैठे because each one of us was looking in a different way, we got 3 different jugaads. In that x plus y wala question, Shashank has given me a jugaad which I will use in future. So I will use in future provided I revise it and I remember it. So the challenge is exactly what Shashank is saying, and that is what I've been harping in all my sessions, that it is okay, that doing only practice will mean you'll keep forgetting. Till the time you make it a habit that you revise, that means once a week you need to say, I'm not going to do anything new. All questions of quant which you think you can do but you struggle with, you are not very confident of, question which give you some kind of jugaad, which give you some kind of shortcut, which clear the concept. Those questions you should at least sit once a week and revise all of them, which means put pen on paper and solve again. That is the way you will not forget those methods. And the same thing needs to be done for DILR also. Just to add to what Shashank was saying, students who have taken mocks, if you tell them, give them a same set which they had taken 5 mocks, 7 mocks earlier, many of the students are not going to be able to solve it because they have forgotten. This particular paper, the last set, if the students are not going to revise, they will not understand how the layout or the data tabulation has to be done. If you will not revise the first set, you will always end up making a mistake in these contract kind of questions. So revision is I would say more important than practice.
Yep. I think, see, this is what I would suggest all of you who are watching it for quant and DILR at least. There are level 1, level 2 and level 3 questions, and level 1, level 2, level 3 for you cannot be defined by a book author. Level 1, level 2 and level 3 for you have to be defined by yourself. Now, what is level 1? Level 1 is a question that your subconscious can answer for you. मतलब रात को 3 बजे मैं आपको नींद से उठा के पूछूं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल देयर इज दिस क्वेश्चन in this paper in which
8 plus 88 plus 888.
Yeah. For example, this question, my subconscious can answer for me. For example, this 56, these are very standard questions I have done so many times. My subconscious can answer for me. These are the questions that will fall under level 1. Level 2 are the questions that you felt you could do, but you made some mistake. You saw the solution and learned something new. This is level 2 question. I mean, this is a question that initially you thought you could do, or when you made some mistake, or you even did, but when you saw the question and you realized, okay, ऐसे भी किया जा सकता है, and you learned something new out of it, that is level 2, because there is still scope of improvement in level 2 questions. And level 3 questions are those kind are the javelins of your life, जो आपको कभी नहीं समझेगा, right?
Sure.
You are basically not cut out for those. I mean, you have made a mistake in that. Even after looking at the solution, you are not able to comprehend what it is, and after that you have asked in a Telegram group, some mentor has answered. Even after that, आपके सर के ऊपर से tangentially जा रहा है. That is a level 3 question, जो you are not cut out for it. There is no harm. There is absolutely no harm in accepting that there will be some level 3 questions for you. There are people, I am not cut out for some questions, I know. For example, question 46 in this paper, for which Shikhar Chauhan is asking me for a jugaad, I am not cut out for ठीक है, मेरे को नहीं बनेगा वो क्वेश्चन, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो इक्विलेटरल ट्रायंगल है ना, राइट एंगल ट्रायंगल है, मेरे से नहीं बनेगा, वो मेरे लिए लेवल 3 है. इट मे नॉट बी लेवल 3 फॉर शिव को, ठीक है, इट मे नॉट बी लेवल 3 फॉर शशांक. So in that sense, this is the thing. When you revise, the goal of revision is to convert level 2s to level 1. Level 1 को आपको रिवाइज करके भी कुछ नया नहीं मिलेगा. It is something जो आप कभी भी आंसर कर सकते हो. Level 2 are the questions that you must revise and try to bring them to level 1 so that your neurons in your brain get the practice of solving questions like this and puzzles like this. The purpose of revision is to bring level 2 to level 1 and try level 3 again and probably bring it to level 2. That is the purpose of revision. So when I say you have to revise every question, जरूरी नहीं है आप 1 वाला को, वो 8888 वाला क्वेश्चन दोबारा रिवाइज करो. आपने एक बार देखा, जिंदगी भर के लिए याद रहेगा. Right?
नहीं, I am not sure.
रहना चाहिए सर.
रहना चाहिए.
Acha, maybe I
I
think
do
we'll just
agree.
take a last couple of questions. Acha, Ravi, Harsh Pusta, is 48 good for quant, or your questions are very easy? It's not even, I suppose he's saying level 2. Why can't the test series be more hard?
अच्छा हर्ष,
यार
because
दूसरों को डिमोरलाइज करने के लिए
open mock 1 or open mock 2.
क्या है?
I think Harsh has not taken open mock 1 or open mock 2.
हाँ, ठीक है. So I think वैसे हर्ष 48 is very good, ठीक है. And ये पेपर में 48 लाने वाले ज्यादा नहीं थे. So you can pat yourself on the back. But it is, when you say क्वांट में 48 है. सी पेपर में हमेशा एक बैलेंस होती है. One of the sections will be tough, one of them will be moderate, one of them will be easy. So you'll have to choose which is the tough section in this, which is the moderate section, and which is the easy section. In my view, it is LRDI, quant, and then verbal. Probably in this, in some other mocks, it would have been something else. So it depends on. Not all the paper, all the sections will be tough. I have never seen a cat when all the three sections are tough. I've never seen a cat where all the three sections are moderate. So there's always one slightly tougher, one moderate, and one easy that you will always find in the cat. ठीक है. So और दूसरा जो है, there's somebody who asked in every exam after mock 14 to 15 questions Sachin ka hai, right? But getting 15, 20, 25 marks at best in quant, how to improve? Basically, he's saying that I can attempt 14 to 15 questions after the exam, but in the exam, I'm not able to attempt beyond 9 or 10, right?
So again, I would suggest one thing. Okay, revision plays a key role over here. And unless you are stuck to the same generic approach कि question पढ़ा, equation बनाई, solve किया. So I tell this thing in the class कि if you are going with a very subjective approach that you are solving the questions जो जैसे class 11th 12th में करते थे, हर चीज subjectively लिख ली. So anyone who is very good at maths, even that person cannot go beyond 14 questions. अगर सारे क्वेश्चन आप सब्जेक्टिवली कर रहे हो, इफ यू डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू एलिमिनेट 3 ऑप्शंस, हाउ टू प्लग इन वैल्यूज, हाउ टू आंसर्स क्विकली, आपका स्कोर कभी इंप्रूव नहीं होगा, आपके अटेम्प्ट भी नहीं बढ़ेंगे, राइट? सो बेसिकली नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू आर सॉल्विंग, I would say कि watch the video solutions, because in a lot of video solutions you will get the shortcut, or else make the equation and think over the question a lot कि क्या मैं इस क्वेश्चन का अप्रोच छोटा कर सकता हूँ. इफ द अप्रोच इज मेड बाय यू ओनली, देन तो वो एक अप्रोच आपके बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस में काम आएगी, तो आपका टाइमर वहां से डिक्रीज होगा. अगर आप सारे क्वेश्चन को सब्जेक्टिवली कर रहे हो तो आप कभी भी, आप हमेशा 9-10 पे ही अटके रहोगे. वो ऊपर बढ़ाने के लिए आपको एक चीज सोचना है कि आपको सॉल्व नहीं करना है. द फर्स्ट माइंडसेट शुड बी यू आर नॉट देयर टू सॉल्व अ क्वेश्चन, यू आर देयर टू गेट द आंसर. मतलब तुमने ऑप्शन देखा, तुम्हें लगा ऑप्शन है सी और तुमने मार्क कर दिया और आंसर है सी, और मैं कहता हूं ये बहुत अच्छी अप्रोच है, राइट? लेकिन इस बात पे भरोसा रखो कि किस्मत सबकी झंड है. तो आपने देखा, आपको लग रहा है ऑप्शन सी, तो वो तो नहीं होगा, ठीक है? सो व्हाट यू आर सपोज टू डू इज टू एलिमिनेट 3 ऑप्शंस, look at the question, eliminate 3 options, get the answer. Instead of solving and get the right answer, try to eliminate the options. Then only your approaches will increase. Second, learn to practice that how to leave questions very quickly. So mocks, पुराने mocks उठाओ, पुराने mocks का record देखो कि what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, कौन से ऐसे टॉपिक्स हैं जिनकी क्वेश्चन तुमने हमेशा ही अटेम्प्ट भी करे और सही भी हैं, कौन से ऐसे क्वेश्चन हैं जो तुमने करे तो हैं लेकिन गलत हैं. तो जो हमेशा तुम करते आ रहे हो वो स्ट्रेंथ है, तो उसका मतलब नेक्स्ट मॉक में उनके क्वेश्चंस को प्रायोरिटी दो. ये अप्रोच होनी चाहिए अटेम्प्ट बढ़ाने के लिए.
One last word from you, Ravi.
I think this is one question Shubhang is asking, that while doing analysis for QA, should we approach questions by Jugaad methods or stick to basic methods? See, now basic understanding you need to have is what is Jugaad. What is see, if for example, if you have a screwdriver with you and you have to open a screw, you will use the screwdriver only. You will use a 1 rupee coin or a spoon or a fork when the screwdriver is not available. So Jugaad is a way of alternately solving questions when you are not equipped with what is required in it. Okay, when you are not equipped with it, अगर आपको उसको बेसिक सॉल्व करने का तरीका नहीं पता है, then you will look, like for example, I look at a question of geometry, that question may be testing me in anything, but I only think, okay, what are the resources I have? मेरा चम्मच और मेरा fork is that right angle triangle or equilateral triangle. I know only this. I will try to convert anything into this form and solve. That is my jugaad way of solving it. So there's no harm in learning jugaad. There's no harm in solving those by jugaad. But if you are confident about your speed with the regular approach of screwdriver, stick to the screwdriver. Use proper tools for work. But wherever you feel that you are falling short of resources, those questions you should always think, acha, diya hai, this is given, this is where I have to go, but my resources are limited. How do I convert whatever is given to my way of solving it? And that is how you learn jugaad. And more often you solve questions using those kind of jugads, automatically your primary way of solving questions will become jugaad over a period of time. Right? So there is no harm in learning those jugaad, but at the same time, don't stress yourself by saying that ये question है तो मेरे को जुगाड़ से ही करना है. If you know the actual way, for example, if you know कि sum of roots or product of roots से ये बनेगा, तो why will you not do it using sum of roots and product of roots? Right? There's no need of jabardasti doing a jugaad. You do jugaad when you are forced. Okay, मैंने जुगाड़ कर लिया, ऐसा कब बोलते हो लाइफ में? जब तुम्हारे पास ओरिजिनल रिसोर्स ना हो. अगर ओरिजिनल रिसोर्स है and your confidence and speed in that is good, then stick to it. There's no problem in doing that.
प्रणव, do PYQs for sure. ठीक है, फंडा बुक अभी साइड में रख सकते हो. अच्छा, मेरा एक पर्सपेक्टिव है इसमें. As you do the analysis, I think if you don't know how to solve a question by the conventional method, मुझे नहीं लगता है जुगाड़ समझने से बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ेगा, right? Unless it's a very specific kind of jugaad. So, you know, jugaad. See, if I take 5 minutes to figure out what is my jugaad, I think it is pointless.
Yeah.
Right? I take 5 minutes to find out a shortcut. I think that is, you should not be persevering, getting troubled about how to find a jugaad for the question in the exam. If the jugaad happens, it will happen naturally, and that will only happen if your analysis is thorough, if you have
Correct.
understood the jugaad of the past. That is where going back, for example, I know if there's a question that of mock 1 or the CDC 1 or your flexi 1, if you go back and look at that, the way you would have thought about it 3.5 months back will not be the same way you will think about it now. So I think when you go back and revise, I think there's a huge value in revision. वो जो ब्रूस ली वाला स्टोरी बिल्कुल सही है, right? And
Yep.
मुझे लगता है आपको PYQs है, mocks है, इनको thoroughly analyze करो. I think the scores will go up. Please set very achievable targets for you. If you are, I personally think that if you are able to do 15 questions in the post exam, it doesn't mean that it will convert into 15 questions in the exam. Please understand this. Don't try to fool yourself about that. 15 questions you didn't do in that span of 40 minutes. If you were able to do it in 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 15 questions, or let's say 1 hour, it will obviously translate to only about 9 to 10 questions in the actual during the exam, which means your 25, 26 is okay. So don't despair about it. See if you can push it by 1 or 2 attempts. Try to increase it incrementally. Don't try to take a jump from you saying that I'm attempting 10, how will I attempt 15? It doesn't happen that way, right? You'll have to build the muscles slowly, right? आप 5 kgs उठाते वहां से 50 kg नहीं कर सकते. So I think the only way to build muscles in this is a lot of practice.
So
ठीक है. So I think we'll call it a day. नहीं तो चल. Thanks Ravi. Thanks
Yeah.
Shashank. See you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye bye.
someone will have to end it. Backend में कोई है?